Hello, and thank you for joining today's online travel presentation, where we will talk all about Vancouver and why it is the perfect inclusion on any Canada vacation. My name is Lynn, and I will be the moderator for this presentation. We understand that now is not an easy time to travel, but it is the perfect time to start researching destinations and planning your next trip. So thank you for being here. Before we begin, I'd like to tell you that we will have two polling questions during today's presentation, and we encourage you to attend. We will also have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So if you have a question during this session, simply enter it in the question box in the GoToWebinar toolbar, and we'll cover it at the end of the presentation. So let's get started. As I mentioned, I'm Lynn, and I'll be your moderator, and I'm pleased to introduce Bridget, one of our fantastic rail specialists and a fan of Vancouver. So now that you know a little bit about us, I'd like to get to know a little bit more about you in our first polling question, which is, have you ever vacationed in Vancouver? So we'll keep this poll open for about 30 seconds. Please respond yes or no. All right, it looks like just about everybody has responded. So I'm going to be closing this up right about now. And Bridget, it looks like about 45% of our attendees have attended or have been to Vancouver. So it sounds like the ones that have been there are going to learn a little bit, maybe a few like hidden secrets from you. And those that haven't are going to get to hear all about the great city.
Sounds great.
So a little bit about Vacations by Rail. We have a wide variety of itineraries to destinations around the globe. And the cornerstone of every trip is a journey aboard one of the world's iconic trains. Vacations by Rail is the trusted authority on rail. We are a member of the National Tour Association and American Bus Association. We have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we're also AARP's preferred rail provider. We are a great rail journeys company backed by more than 45 years of experience in the specialty of global rail tours. And in addition to unmatched vacations, we offer best-in-class customer care from your first call or email to your return home from your trip. So Vancouver is a vibrant coastal city in British Columbia, well positioned as the beginning, halfway point, or end of any Canada vacation. It is an outdoor and urban oasis with a multitude of activities for the nature lover, adventurer, foodie, or even shopper. Now, I love fun facts, so here are some about Vancouver. Vancouver was ranked as the third most livable place in the world, thanks to its high standard in living and quality of life. Vancouver's bustling cruise terminal is the fourth largest in the world. Stanley Park is beautiful, and I personally think it's one of the best maintained urban parks I've ever seen. It's so big, it is 10% larger than Central Park in New York City. Downtown Vancouver is 65% residential. Look around at all of those amazing high-rise condos. And Vancouver is known as the gateway to the Rockies because it is a major hub for two trains that travel to and through the Canadian Rockies, the all-daylight Rocky Mountaineer and Via Rail Canada's flagship train, the Canadian, offering a classic overnight rail adventure. It is also called the gateway to Alaska. Remember, we just talked about the city's busy cruise terminal, and a number of those ships are taking travelers on an Alaska cruise. Now, those are my fun facts, but I'd like to turn the reins over to Bridget, who's going to share some amazing activities and adventures with you.
All right, thanks, Lynn. So I'm going to start talking about some of Vancouver's must-sees. So first off, the ferry over to Granville Island is definitely a must. There's some great little restaurants there to spend a day, getting some lunch. And another one would be to see the steam clock in Gastown. Gastown is another area that's really known for its gastronomy. So if you're interested in, some of the foodie aspects of traveling, that's going to be a really great place for you to visit. You can admire the totems in Stanley Park, as Lynn was talking about. That's a beautiful green space in Vancouver. You can visit English Bay Beach, cross the Capilano Suspension Bridge. That is a suspension bridge. It's about 140 meters long and goes, right through some beautiful cedar trees in Vancouver. So great if you're looking for a quick way to get some nature in. And you can also get some of the best views in the city and possibly see some bears at Grass Mountain, shop along Robson Street, find an independent coffee shop. That's one of my favorite parts of travel always, or eat some dim sum in Chinatown. Vancouver's got a really great Chinatown that has lots of different options again for if you're looking to get some gastronomy in. All right, and then next we're going to be talking about the Rocky Mountaineer. And this is one of the most popular routes between Vancouver and the Rockies. It's Canada's luxury train, and it is a daylight only train that follows 3 distinct routes into the heart of the Rocky Mountains, each of which has a rich history and natural wonders throughout. And the Rocky Mountain Rail Tours depart from Vancouver. However, if you choose that, you'd prefer to start in the Canadian Rockies and work back to the beautiful coastal city of Vancouver, you can do it that way as well. And the Rocky Mountaineer does offer 2 levels of service. So the first level is the Gold Leaf. This is going to be the upgraded service level on the train, and that's going to be in essentially a bi-level train car with a fully domed glass roof that you see featured there at the top. So that's definitely a highlight of the Gold Leaf service. And then you'll actually eat your meals in the dining car below. And then the other service level would be Silverleaf. This one is also a really lovely service level. I actually had the opportunity to try out both, and I thought they were both excellent. But you get the large picture windows with that little dome at the top. In Silverleaf, it's a single level car, and you'll be served hot meals in your seats, which you can see happening right there in the photo. All right, and then these are just some additional photos on board the Rocky Mountaineer of some of the delicious meals that you would be that would be available to you. And then also just some views of some of the scenery that you'll see as you're going by. And so the Silverleaf service that you see featured here, this is where you'll be served the hot meals in your seats, as opposed to previously in the Gold Leaf service on the last page that you will be eating your meals in the dining car below. So both are going to offer beautiful views and delicious meals, but just in a slightly different configuration. Beverages are brought right to your seats, and there's friendly hosts on both services that are going to be offering you a little bit of history, information on wildlife, and also assistance with wildlife spotting. So, if they see a bear, they'll let you know to get your camera ready, or let you know that there are some mountain goats on the side. Lots of different opportunities for wildlife sightings along the journey. All right, and then the first tour that we're going to begin discussing is the Canadian Rockies, featuring Banff and Lake Louise. And this one is a 7-day journey, and it is going to begin in the coastal city of Vancouver. So you'll have 2 overnights there before you begin your journey through the Canadian Rockies landscapes, stopping in Kamloops for 1 night, heading over to the beautiful little mountain town of Lake Louise, where you'll have an additional night. And then you'll have a transfer over to Banff, which is a gorgeous little mountain town. You'll have 2 nights there before transferring over to Calgary. I love that this option comes with 2 nights in Vancouver at the beginning. Some just come with 1, so this one gives you a little bit of extra time to spend sightseeing in the area, and you still get to see some of the major highlights of the Canadian Rockies, both along your journey on the Rocky Mountaineer, and then when you're staying in those gorgeous little towns, the Lake Louise and Banff area. And some highlights include the 2 days of scenic rail travel on the Rocky Mountaineer, the Vancouver Hop-On Hop-Off Tour, which includes admission to the Lookout Tower. That's a great option to really get your sightseeing in throughout Vancouver. You can get on and get off at different top destinations throughout the day, so it makes sightseeing really easy, as well as it just gives you a nice tour around the city. And then there's also Banff National Park touring, including the Sulphur Mountain Gondola. All right, and then here we just have some photos. So that is the view from the Sulphur Mountain Gondola. You can see on the left half, then we've got the Rocky Mountaineer just following a curve, and then another shot of Vancouver. And then the next tour that we're gonna discuss is called the Canadian Rockies Grand Getaway. And for this tour, you can travel in style through the Canadian West as you visit the area's highlights, and it'll include some private tours, and you'll get to relax in some upscale accommodations. All right, and for the overview of this tour, you can go ahead and kick off your tour of the west coast of Canada by exploring the beautiful seaside city of Vancouver. And this one is really lovely because it also includes a stunning cruise of the Gulf Islands as you head to Vancouver Island. And while you're there, you'll have free time to explore Bouchard Gardens, which is of course a top destination in the city of Victoria. Next, you'll head over into the Canadian Rockies, and you'll board the Rocky Mountaineer, which is the luxury sightseeing train that we've been discussing, and you'll be able to relax as the landscapes unfold outside your window. This train is going to stop through Whistler and Quesnel before you settle into the alpine town of Jasper. From here, you'll enjoy a boat cruise of Malign Canyon, or a boat cruise, and you'll get to explore Malign Canyon. So those are definitely some top destinations in Jasper. You'll also be able to visit the Columbia ice fields. So you'll have a unique opportunity there to walk on ancient glaciers before you arrive into Lake Louise for your final 2 nights. And that one, you're gonna have a transfer to Calgary at the end of the tour. So that one, I really love that. It takes the time to, again, spend a little bit more time in Vancouver, and you get to go over to Vancouver Island, visit Victoria, and see Bouchard Gardens. I think that's definitely a highlight, along with that, you know, the service on the Rocky Mountaineer. So like I said, the highlights are in this tour, you actually get 3 days of scenic travel, and it's going to be in the Gold Leaf service on the Rocky Mountaineer. And it will also include deluxe hotel accommodations. So you're going to be in an upgraded service level both on the trains and in the hotels. You're going to have private sightseeing excursions in Vancouver, Victoria, and Yoho National Park, private transfers, and driver gratuities included. All right, and then next we just have some photos here. Again, a nice big photo of Vancouver. In the left top, we've got a photo of Whistler, Bouchard Gardens below that, and Yoho National Park. All right, next we're going to be discussing another train that we ride through the Rockies, and this one even actually goes all the way across Canada. This one is the Via Rail's Canadian train. Via Rail is a sleeper train, so this will allow you to experience what it's like to have an overnight on board the train where you can also opt for private sleeping cabins. And the options for that essentially would be like a semi-private berth. And so this one, that option basically is going to be, you know, an upper or a lower berth. It's semi-private because you've got the walls behind you, and then you've got a curtain on your individual berth. So during the day, you would be in the car with other passengers seated by a large picture window, and at night down the hall you would have the berths converted, and then you would also have a heavy curtain, like I said, to draw for privacy, and shared restrooms located down the hall. Another option would be a cabin for one. So that's going to be a private cabin where during the day you have a seat by a large picture window, and at night it's converted into a lower bunk for you. There is a toilet in the cabin, and then there is a shared shower facility on the train car. The cabin for two is pretty similar. It's also a private cabin where during the day you have two seats by a large picture window with a fold down table in between, and at night you'll have a lower and upper berth. Again, there's going to be a toilet in the cabin and shared shower facilities down the hall. All right, and these are some photos of the onboard services on the Via Rail. And in the dining car from breakfast to dinner, you can explore the gourmet 3-course menu. And if you have an allergy, Via Rail can certainly make a special request to try to minimize the risk of exposure to the allergen in question. And the menu items are carefully selected by Canadian artisans. So you do have a menu to order off of. It's not set, so you do have some options, which is great. And you can also purchase a selection of local beers and wines by the glass to accompany your meal. And if you're traveling in the prestige class, all alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks are free of charge. So that's definitely a perk of upgrading your service level. All right, then the next tour that we're going to be discussing is Experience Whistler, Vancouver, and the Rockies. And this tour is really great if you're looking for the quiet embrace of nature. It can be found just about anywhere, and luckily for you, around every corner on this escape is you know, the opportunity to embrace nature in Western Canada. And on this 10-day rail tour, you'll experience the natural beauty of 4 of Canada's most enticing destinations. So this one you get to visit Whistler, Vancouver, Jasper, and Banff. This one, as the previous slide might have alluded, you'll have the option to observe bears in their natural habitats in Whistler, and walk amongst the famous, you know, huge soaring fig and cedar trees in Vancouver's coastal rainforest, and discover the many species of wildlife that call the Canadian Rockies home in both Jasper and Banff. So along the way for this one, you do have the one overnight along Via Rail's Canadian line. And so you'll have the opportunity to experience what it's like to sleep on the train, which I think is an experience a lot of people are excited about. And you'll have a chance to tour, again, the ancient ice of the glaciers in the Columbia ice field and the Athabasca Glacier. This one also does have some opportunities for free time, fantastic hotel accommodations, and you know, those two things along with the tours that are included make it easy to experience some of the best things that I think Canada has to offer. And so the highlights, so as we were discussing, would be the rail travel on the Via Rail Canadian for one overnight. You get that quintessential experience of sleeping on the train. The Flyover Canada tour, that is in Vancouver. The Capilano Suspension Bridge in Vancouver. The bear viewing tour in Whistler is certainly a highlight. The Jasper Wildlife Discovery Tour, Columbia Ice Fields, and the evening wildlife safari in Banff. So again, this one's really centered on, you know, getting into nature and seeing some wildlife. And then here we have some additional photos. We've got the Capilano Suspension Bridge in the upper left. Got a bear from the bear viewing tour in Whistler right in the center. And then some additional photos of the Columbia ice fields and Glacier Skywalk, along with another photo of Vancouver. All right, next tour we're going to be discussing is the Best of the Rockies. And this one, you can enjoy Vancouver at the beginning of your destination or your vacation with an amazing trip through the Canadian Rockies in between. So this one, it is round trip Vancouver, which is really great. I think that makes, flying in and out a little bit easier and gives you more time in the city. All right, and as an overview, this one is going to be an 8-day independent tour, and it'll allow you to experience the majesty of the Canadian Rockies on a round trip tour through Canada. And you're going to begin in the coastal city of Vancouver before you board the first train on your tour, which is going to be the Rocky Mountaineer, so the private luxury train. And early in the morning, you'll head over to Kamloops, where you'll stay for an overnight. And then you'll get back on the Rocky Mountaineer and enjoy all that beautiful scenery between Kamloops and the mountain town of Banff, where, here you'll have an opportunity to enjoy some guided touring and also some free time to explore. So a nice balance there. And then from Banff, you're going to pass through the unique landscapes of the Columbia ice fields on your way up to Jasper. You'll spend the day sightseeing on your own before boarding Via Rail's Canadian for the ride back to Vancouver. And there you'll have, again, that overnight on the train, sleeping. You'll wake up the next day pulling into Vancouver, and that's where your tour would end. All right, and the highlights for this are going to be that it combines both rail lines. I think is going to be a highlight. So you get to travel both on the Via Rail's Canadian for one night, and then you get 2 nights of scenic rail travel on the Rocky Mountaineer. So you get to experience both of the options in the Canadian Rockies. So I think that's a great opportunity. You also have the Vancouver Lookout Tower admission included on this, and then the Banff sightseeing, including the Sulphur Mountain Gondola. All right, and then we've got some additional photos here. We've got Vancouver in the upper left, and then we've got Hell's Gate to the right of that, Jasper below, center of downtown Banff, right in the center, and then a picture of Via Rail in the lower left. All right, and then the last tour that we're going to be discussing is the Rocky Mountaineer and Alaska by Sea. So this option combines the rail travel on the Rocky Mountaineer with a cruise to Alaska. And then you also get to experience some rail in Alaska. So this one is a great opportunity, like we were discussing. Vancouver, is considered both the gateway to the Canadian Rockies and Alaska. So if you're looking to take advantage of both of those options, this is a great tour for you to look into. And this one is a 16-day tour. It's, again, fully independent. And you're going to begin with the journey on the Rocky Mountaineer. And so this actually begins in Calgary. So you'll head over from Calgary to Banff along the Rocky Mountaineer. You'll have that overnight in Kamloops, and then you'll head over to Vancouver. So you're going to get that stunning scenery on the Rocky Mountaineer throughout your journey, excellent service, and you'll have 3 days in Vancouver. So that's a great opportunity to really see what the city has to offer. And then you're going to be able to take advantage of their great port access and board your Alaskan cruise from Vancouver all the way up to Anchorage. You're going to be stopping throughout the way in Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway, Glacier Bay, so all of the must-sees on an Alaska cruise. And then you'll head up to Anchorage, where you'll have an overnight before boarding the Alaska Railroad to Denali National Park. You'll have another overnight in Denali, and then you'll board the train over to Fairbanks, where the tour ends. So this one, like I said, I think is a really great option if you're looking to also explore some of Alaska. So the highlights are going to be the 2 days of scenic rail travel on the Rocky Mountaineer, the Vancouver hop-on, hop-off tour, including admission to the Lookout Tower, and then the ports of call along your Alaska cruise, like I said, including Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway, and Glacier Bay. All right, and then we just have some additional photos of the Rocky Mountaineer, the Alaska scenery that you'd be seeing along your cruise, and Vancouver. All right, and then we've got just some information about Vancouver in the winter. So you don't necessarily just have to travel in the summer to Vancouver. If you like traveling in the winter, there is lots of opportunities in Vancouver as far as things like Christmas markets, and then, obviously the decorations that come in play with that. There's also opportunities for things like snowshoeing in the area. So it is definitely a destination that does tend to be, friendly for all 4 seasons. So that's something to consider if you are interested in winter travel. All right, and then I just want to talk a little bit about the possibility to upgrade your experience. So for the majority of our tours, you can definitely enhance your experience with upgrades. So you can add on different things like excursions. You could look into adding on a cruise, maybe if you liked one of the other packages that we discussed that didn't feature a cruise and were interested in connecting that. That's something we can assist you with. Additional hotel nights, or just upgrading your existing hotels or class of service. So each independent package includes different options, so just be sure to speak with your rail specialist if you have any additional questions or ideas on that. All right, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Lynn to go over a question.
Thanks, Bridget. Our second polling question is, what type of Vancouver vacation would you like to have? So our choices are a circle tour, which means you begin and end in Vancouver. Vancouver with an all-daylight train adventure, so that would be the Rocky Mountaineer. Vancouver with a classic overnight train adventure, so that would be Via Rail's Canadian, or a rail and cruise vacation. You can pick as many as interest you, and we'll keep this open for a bit longer. Let everyone have a chance to submit an answer. Okay, and it looks like just about everybody has completed submitting an answer. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And Bridget, it looks like the top 2 choices are a circle tour and a Vancouver with a classic overnight train adventure. So those are both great options, but it looks like everything interested everybody. So lovely. So moving on, if you'd like to learn more about our itineraries in Canada, as well as our vacations to the rest of the world, you can request one of our brochures by visiting www.vacationsbyrail.com, or you can call 877-929-7245 and request one from one of our rail specialists. If you're interested in booking any of our trips or speaking with a rail specialist like Bridget, You can call our toll-free number here on the screen or visit our website, place a option or an active booking through our website and be contacted by a rail specialist. A little fun tip is that the rail specialists to assist you with your reservation, whether you call or place an order online, will be your dedicated rail specialist until you return home from your trip. So we do have time for a little Q&A. So Bridget, if you have time for a couple questions, I have some good ones for you.
Sounds great.
Okay, the first question is one night enough time in Vancouver?
Sure, I think that's a great question. Many of our packages will include the one night in Vancouver, as you know, that's the starting city for many of our rail journeys. But I would definitely encourage 2 to 3 nights in Vancouver if you're really interested in taking advantage of, you know, what the city has to offer and getting in some sightseeing while you're there.
Thanks, Bridget. The next question we have is, can I customize any vacation?
Yes, certainly. We're happy to assist with um, modifying or customizing our independent packages specifically. So if you like the look of a tour, but you want some additional nights or you want to upgrade your service level, whatever it is, we're definitely happy to work with you and see that we can create an itinerary that works for the customer. So
Wonderful. I think we have time for one more question. Do you have any escorted vacations, including Vancouver?
yes, we did. Today, we largely just featured our independent packages, but we do also have fully escorted tours if that's more what you're looking for in Western Canada. And so some of our great options to potentially look into would be our Canadian Rockies and Rocky Mountaineer package, Calgary Stampede, Canadian Rockies and Glacier, or and then we also have one that actually is coast to coast called Canada Coast to Coast Escorted Experience. So those are all some great escorted options that we offer in Canada.
Thanks so much, Bridget. That's all the time we have for questions. And I know that we have several more here. So if your question was not answered, don't worry. Your questions will be turned over to our rail specialists who will contact you with answers to your questions and assist you in any way that they can. So thank you very much for attending today's session. Be on the lookout for an email with a special offer as a thank you for attending. And we look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Thanks and have a great day.